Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing another video today. It's been a while since I've done videos. I'm going to probably be releasing some other videos that I recorded like a week ago and then maybe taking a break for a while. I'm getting a webcam. I rebought my old webcam, which I was very nostalgic for when it broke, because I had this webcam since about 2015 maybe, and it's like it's not like the the best webcam in the world, but it was this Logitech webcam, like something C615 or something like that. I've used it so much, like got used to the feel of it and like the vibe that using the different programs with it gave. And I bought a replacement recently that was a cheaper one, which was also Logitech, but it wasn't the same. Plus it's like off time for some reason. I don't know, with the audio and shit. So I don't want to mess with it. It's a cheap alternative. So I bought the real deal that I used to have. It works really well. Well, some would argue maybe it didn't work that well, but I mean, it with the right program, like this new program that I got, newer program I got, I'm probably going to try fixing some of the bugs in that and doing better videos like that. So anyways, this video, and by the way, I got sunburn, if I didn't already mention it, by going to a baseball game. If anybody had questions about that with my job. So my new job took me to a baseball game. It was kind of boring. I liked some of it, it was kind of cool, but I'd rather see something a little more physical, a little more intense. Honestly, like there was even WWE, I guess, coming to this town in the fall, so I'm thinking about going. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just like, whatever, give that a shot just for fun, for shits and giggles. But anyways, speaking of macho, meat-headed, kind of trashy kind of stuff, how about this new Pantera reunion that's going to happen? Anyways, that was half a joke. So just a little background. To me, Pantera has always been like a very, let's just say, working class band. For the fan base. I mean, I went to a show in 2000, primarily to see Morbid Angel, because at the time I was kind of against Pantera for various reasons, like because it became such a thing that I was like, I was listening to all this European metal and I was like, fuck Pantera and all that shit. But at the same time, me and my friend stayed for a huge portion of the Pantera show, and it was pretty good. They also played with Soulfly, which at that time, Soulfly did not have any old school metal vibe at all. It was all just new metal garbage. It was just it was like Roots by Sepultura, like just one chord all the way through. So that's what I had to say about Soulfly. So at least at the time, they did kind of, we got guitar solos again. Oh my god, they became cool again. So we're gonna play guitar solos on our songs. Wow, what a fucking revelation. Anyways, back to parents. Even fucking Pantera had guitar solos all on their albums. But they were kind of like the one metal band that was popular in the 90s that actually played metal through and through, if you want to count it as that. As far as in the United States, at least, there were a lot of bands in the United States still playing metal too, but not in the mainstream United States, not in Germany or elsewhere. I'm just saying. So yeah, so I had mixed feelings about Pantera throughout the whole time that I was growing up and stuff. I heard Cowboys from Hell and I liked it. I didn't love it like it was one of my favorite albums, but I did like it. I think part of the problem was when Pantera was really hitting their stride in the 90s, I'd gotten into like Carcass and Napalm Death quite a bit. I was like, oh man, that makes Pantera sound like sissies in comparison, man. Like I'll just say, like Utopia Banished, like the guitar tone and just the vibe of that album, to me, to this day, just obliterates most groove metal. Now, later on, more recently, I've got into, actually, ironically enough, strange timing. I've gotten to appreciate Pantera a lot more than I did growing up. I never hated them. Like I said, I liked them. I mean, my friend went to see them because we wanted to see Morbid Angel. We caught part of the Pantera show, a huge portion of it, then left. Now, the thing that turned me off about the Pantera thing, let's just be honest here, and I'm not going to try to beat around the bush. I'm just going to be straight up about this. And this term is controversial. I understand that, and it's going to be controversial to say this, but a huge percentage of Pantera fans are white trash. Okay, they're rednecks. That's what it is. And I said it, when I got into all these other styles of metal in like the late 90s. You'd go to Metal Fest and it'd be like black metal fans, but they weren't like or power metal fans even. I met these guys like that. I was wearing a Blind Guardian shirt at Milwaukee Metal Fest. This guy was wearing Running Wild, and one guy had a Gamma Ray, and one guy had a Rage shirt. It was like, I should have hung out with those guys, but it was like this German metal kind of conglomerate of people. It was pretty cool. You talk to these people, at Milwaukee Metal Fest that aren't like huge, they're not like the Pantera fans. I'm talking about like people that, go to tractor pulls, like people that aren't really into a lot of other types of metal or other metal other than like Mudvayne or shit like that. And when I saw Pantera, it was like this. It was like Morbid Angel took the stage. A lot of people laughed, which really offended me. Even though Phil came out and sang a song with them. I don't know which one that was. I can't remember. I think it was from Altars of Madness. Phil Anselmo, that is. And people laughed, and they were just like oblivious to Morbid Angel. It's like, that it's not your average metal fan that goes to Pantera. It's like this subset of metal fan is what I'm trying to say. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think they didn't make some great music and took some, but which some of it was taken from Exorder. Let's just be honest. At least the style. Now, I like both bands. I do like I said, I like Cowboys from Hell, and I listened to Vulgar Display of Power when it came out. One thing is, my best friend at the time, one of my best friends in high school, he liked Pantera. Okay, he bought a Pantera shirt, Vulgar Display. We listened to it, watched the Headbangers Ball and all that. But then a couple months later, like by the middle of sophomore year or whatever, he started to listen to death metal, and he's like, man. And then oh God, I'm dating myself here even more. But when Far Beyond Driven came out, he's like, man, this is like hair death metal. And if you listen to like the song Slaughtered and some of those later tracks on the album, they're kind of like, it sounds a little try-hard. Let's just be honest. At least to our ears it did. I'm just saying, to our ears, Far Beyond Driven, the second half especially, sounded a little try-hard. Now, Vulgar Display of Power had a cool vibe. I always liked it. I'll never apologize for liking Vulgar Display of Power. I don't love it like power metal or Cowboys, but especially power metal. But that was like a decade later, and then I got into that because I didn't know a lot about that at the time. So I thought it was probably hair metal, and at the time I was very anti-hair metal. Hair metal took me a long time to get into, and only because I was really behind as far. This is going to sound like a weird part of the story, but I was really behind as far as dating, and like simultaneously when I was getting more into like actually having girlfriends and stuff, and then I was getting more into shred. So those two things like combined, and then I got into like Scorpion, like Dokken and Scorpions and bands like that, and then years later I even got into more stuff than that. But my early Motley Crue, I actually stole Too Fast for Love from a record store back in back in the day, because I read that Nikki Sixx stole his bass. I'm like, I'm gonna steal their album, and I loved it. I did, even at the time, even though it was very anti-glam because of the thrash scene and stuff. So, but it took me a long time to get into a lot of those bands, but I did eventually. But anyways, Pantera. So they're reuniting with Zakk Wylde, reuniting. Phil Anselmo, Charlie Benante, and Rex Brown, Rex Rocker. I'm just gonna call him Rex Rocker because he's been so like ridiculous about the pre-cowboy stuff. I'm just gonna insult him by calling him that. So now the thing to consider here is that both the Abbotts, Dimebag and Vinny Abbott, have been especially Vinny because Dimebag died and stuff, very adamant that this would never happen. This should never happen. It's against their wishes that this would happen. Maybe Dimebag less, who knows? Because Dimebag he seemed a little more laid back than his brother at times about stuff, certain business dealings and things. But I haven't read enough about Pantera to know if that's true or not. It's just my vibe, my impression that I got. So my thoughts on this are that it's a money grab, like all reunions are. Now, you can always trace the roots of a reunion back to a band member's plights financially 99% of the time. Slash had a divorce. Wow, I'm really sunburned. Holy shit. Kiss two members were going bankrupt, and two other guys had these coal dealings that went south, that Casablanca Records or something invested in these coal companies, literally coal. And these, they crashed. All this stuff was happening to these members of these bands. It's like Kiss. I mean, sure, Iron Maiden, their fortunes were, going down in the 90s because of the Blaze era and metal dying, and stuff like that. So, Bruce Dickinson wants to come back, and, that was a cash cow. $10 million got Iron Maiden back together. Little known fact. I remember reading the article. The thing is, I didn't care because I wanted to see Iron Maiden with Bruce. That was one thing that, when I read that article, I remember I was working at Walgreens. Speaking of Walgreens, like I talked about in my videos, and we had Guitar World, Iron Maiden back together. I was like, and I was like, $10 million, whatever. I don't care. Let them get rich. They deserve it. It was like mental gymnastics to, most bands would be like, that's just for the money. Even like Kiss, I said at the time. But it was like, Iron Maiden's for the money too, and who cares? Because one thing about Maiden that they did follow their promise, they followed through on, is that they would do more music. They wouldn't abandon Yannick, I guess, for better or worse, depending on what your opinion of Yannick is. So that was kind of a less douchey kind of reunion move that they made these different they said these different things, and you're like, okay, the $10 million will be over a course of time, and they'll have to make it up by touring and doing albums and stuff. And I'm like, well, it is for money, but it's at least there's a creative element to it more than some of these reunions seem like there are. So Slash had his divorce, and then I think Fleetwood Mac originally, some of them were getting divorced at the time that the original reunion happened, or the Eagles, or the fucking all these bands. I mean, you read about all these reunions that happen, and you're just like, oh, of course that's happened. Of course this person had this court case that they had to pay all this money and all this financial woes and stuff. So with regards to Pantera, I would not be surprised if there was anything like that, or if there was anything like that within the realm of possibility. Rex Rocker had a divorce, or he has child custody support, backed up payments, or he lost some, has something to pay off, or Phil for that matter, or whoever. Maybe the Abbotts aren't doing good, the Abbott estate, Rita Haney or Jerry Abbott or something like that. But as far as the music goes, I'm more of I've seen Pantera. I saw 2/3 of a show. I mean, it was ridiculous that we left early, but we were kind of anti-Pantera, me and my friend at the time. Not the same friend I had talked about earlier. But, and especially with how trashy the audience was, man. A lot of flashing, which, it's kind of a hair metal thing, of course. See, by the late 90s, a lot of the politically incorrect stuff in rock and metal had come back. Eddie Vedder would probably be scared of seeing tits from stage. No, that's not feminist enough. And then he would go, do whatever. But, shit. So it's like you see that happen, and it was just really sleazy, like the concert. Look, I've been some sleazy concerts, but like this Pantera was like there was a little less. There was a little. I mean, obviously there was a lot of sleaze, but there was a lot less teeth too. I'll just say that. A lot of truck driving rednecks from rural Wisconsin all around came to this show, so it was kind of a turnoff in a way. I'm just being honest here. And my tolerance back then for people was a lot less, so that's why we left, sort of. But we both wanted to leave. But anyways, we've established that this is definitely for money. From someone's making money from this. They want to make money. Maybe they want to honor the legacy or whatever too. They're going to use all sorts of excuses and stuff and rationalizations for that. Like, we just wanted to honor this musical legacy, and there'll be all this merchandise that comes out and new guitars. Maybe Dean Zielinski has something to do with it too. I mean, he's in trouble with like Gibson and shit, and I'm not on either side. I think Gibson's a bunch of douchebags as far as a company. So I'm going to say I'm probably more on his side about like the lawsuits and stuff, like the guitar designs. I mean, who gives a fuck, They have a different headstock, all sorts of companies do. I have a guitar that's a Gibson, looks like a Gibson Les Paul. I can show you right now. And it's not a Les Paul. So these lawsuits are pretty frivolous from Gibson, but they'll probably win because they're the huge corporation, right? So maybe he's in trouble too. He's like, oh, he talks to lawyers and all these promoters. Oh, we can promise you this. Oh, this will be a huge thing. Of course it's going to be called Pantera. It's not going to be called Vulgar Display of Pantera or some shit like that. It's not going to be like that. Or Far Beyond Pantera or some crap. Or Ride My Pantera. Just a little joke on the hair metal stuff. Ride My Pantera. Ride My Rocket. So it's not going to be that. And it's going to be called Pantera. And it's going to have Zakk Wylde, which I am mixed on. I think he can play. I think he might be able to learn Dime's leads. I'm not 100% sure how he's going to deliver some of that. I'm not saying I don't like. I actually warmed up to him a little bit more than I did, back in the day when I did my Almost Overrated Guitarist video. But I'm still not like in love with Zakk Wylde. I think they could have picked like Gary Holt, who's a way better tighter guitarist in that kind of realm, like who could play the really shreddy technical stuff too, or one of the guitarists from Biomechanical. It was a underrated power groove prog band from the earlier 2000s, or maybe even Marzi, forgot his last name, or the guy from Exorder and Phil's band. They should have picked him because he knows everything apparently. So, but they're picking Zakk Wylde because of the name recognition. He'll be playing his Bullseye Les Paul with. I mean, the thing is he going to play Marshalls too? I mean, that's going to be a little weird, hearing that kind of stuff with Marshalls. Just being honest, like the Dime had a very particular sound, not too far off from like Chuck Schullender, because like both solid state, like scooped mids a lot of the time. I mean, it's a lot different. Well, it is a lot different, but there was like some similarities with that solid state thing. So that would be really dumb if he came up with just his same rig for Ozzy and his other bands. But he probably will, But he'll play the Dean or Washburn or whatever. I don't remember the whole history of the merchandise. Or not the merchandise, the custom equipment or whatever. I don't remember. I mean, if he really wanted to be smart, he'd play Randall, RG, whatever, forgot 30 something rather, with the same rig, but he's not going to do that. He's going to play Marshalls probably, or whatever he's playing nowadays. He's going to play his Bullseye Les Paul. He'll pull out that Dean probably. So, just for like some of the classic songs, like maybe if they even do Cemetery Gates. I mean, it's kind of funny. So that'll be interesting, I guess. So the question is, would I go? So this is kind of the condition that I would go. If I won free tickets, I probably would go. If I had, if it was in, close, if it was at a venue that's, only a couple miles away, because I do live close to a couple of venues that are quite popular, actually. I probably would go. Now, if it's, an hour, 2 or 3 hours away, and especially if it just doesn't deliver live, if you see your, Phil can't do it, or it just sounds off with one of the members or whatever. I probably wouldn't. Well, obviously, I wouldn't go because I don't want to drive 2 hours to see it. For first of all, and depending on the set list. See, this is another thing with concerts for me. I look a lot at set lists, especially for legacy bands. Like, if Iron Maiden toured and they played Alexander the Great, Infinite Dreams, and like Flash of the Blade or something, just those 3 songs, and everything else was the normie fucking, they play Running Wrathchild and Number of the Beast and Run of the Hills, but they play those like, even if the rest of the set was like a matter of life and death and like the most boring songs from like all their modern albums, but they played those 3 songs, I would go just for those 3 songs. Even if it was like Senjutsu, a matter of life in Senjutsu, like only the 20-minute songs off of those albums, and like the Airship Spinal Tap song or whatever, I would go see just that for that. Same with a lot of bands. I mean, Judas Priest, I did miss a couple of good shows, but like, set lists are important to me, because if I see a band that's just playing all new stuff and I hate the new album's not great, or it's okay or whatever, or it's terrible sometimes, I won't go. I'll go to a band if I see the set list is great. So the set list has to be incredible. Obviously Pantera has a set list that's pretty much set in time, because they didn't do any other albums after 2000, I think it was. And they're not going to do anything pre-Cowboys from Hell. I know that's a naive dream of a lot of people, but they're not going to have any Terry Lee, guest appearances, or, he played guitar too, by the way, with Pantera early on. They had 2 guitarists at one time, little known fact. I mean, he played rhythm guitar on the first 2 albums, I believe, or at least live. And I think he's only on the first album, and then Projects in the Jungle, he just plays live. I can't remember the whole story, but yeah, it's not going to be anything from pre-Cowboys from Hell, and even that is very fungible as far as depending on how Phil's vocals are handled, because they'll play Domination, he'll probably won't do the screams, but he'll probably do or Heresy, they might do Heresy instead of doing the scream. Kind of dumb, but whatever. That's how he does. He has said that he's been working on his Halford style vocals for a while, so you never know. Maybe he can surprise us, like Vince Neil has a little bit, live recently. But yeah, it's gonna be. It could be a big clusterfuck. It could be something cool. I mean, if they have chemistry, it might sound pretty cool. It's for money, like most reunions. 99% of them have a money motivation that's pretty prominent. Let's just not beat around the bush. People don't want to talk about that. They don't want to imagine their favorite bands that have all this integrity, and they're always for the fans. They never did anything for the cash, ever. No, never, no. Of course, it's for the money. Even like Sex Pistols were at least honest enough when they reunited in 1996 to call it the Filthy Lucre Tour. It's like, we're in it for the money. We don't care. Like, they admitted it. First time probably in rock history that happened. So, you probably read even like an old like Eagles reunion interview. It's like, yeah, well, we felt like it was the time, blah, blah. The vibe was right, or the zeitgeist, and all this crap, and all these fucking like long-winded rationalizations and excuses that are just totally off. I mean, they're just an extrapolation of some pretentious bullshit that's maybe partially true. It could be. Like I said with Iron Maiden, there was a creative thing there too. There was a creative inspiration to get back together a little bit. Adrian Smith and Bruce Dickinson, like, maybe our albums could have this cool vibe or something. I'm sure Steve Harris was thinking that. So, but of course with Pantera, if they do new music, then that's pretty fucked. I mean, Mayhem got away with it. They didn't have Euronymous. They could have had Snore, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, Roosh or whatever. I think he would have been a great, the best replacement for Euronymous they could have gotten, because he wrote a lot of the riffs off De Mysterious. So it's like getting I don't know what a good comparison would be, but he's, he could have been. I think he would have been dare I say, better replacement than who they got for Euronymous. The guys they got. I liked some of those albums; they're okay, but that Thorns album. To me, that Thorns album that came out in 2000, I think it was, really late, obliterated all the Modern Mayhem stuff, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So this Pantera reunion, I'll go if the tickets are super cheap. Other people are going, I'm invited, or there's some like extra ticket that's like a drink ticket or some kind of situation or contest or something like that. But am I going to pay $100 to go to it on my own or with one other person or whatever, like 3 hours away? Fuck no, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I can't justify that. So it's like morbid curiosity more than anything, like to see what the hell they would do without the Abbots. That's kind of what it is. It's kind of like this, like kind of, I mean, dare I say it's like a freak show. I don't know about go that far, but like this whole thing. So, in conclusion, do I support it? I'm just going to be honest about it. I'm going to say, well, I guess that they got the approval of the estate and they're doing it and they're making a lot of money from it. Let's just not kid ourselves that there's any actual like integrous, ethical reason for a Pantera reunion. There's no reason other than a huge percentage, at least, money, because they all do music, on their own anyways. I mean, Phil has like so many, like 50 different side projects or something, other than Super Joint Ritual and the Illegals and all this crap and like black metal and ambient noise and all this crazy shit he's done over the years. Country, I think, I don't remember about that. It's like Gigi Allen did country too, but so you have all these guys that are already doing music. Rex Brown is in a bunch of stuff too. So it's like they don't need to like have some kind of creative thing doing Pantera. They want to honor the legacy of the guys and blah blah blah. Some anniversary will be coming up or something too, or they'll say this, or oh, it's just in honor of all this shit. They'll make all sorts of excuses, of course, but no, let's not kid ourselves. It's for money, and the small part of it is for the legacy and for the fans, but it's for money, for promoters to make money, for these guys to get their name out there, to sell more units, to sell more T-shirts, to sell more, just they want to get the music industry up and running. That's part of it too, like because of the a certain thing that happened, the music industry probably isn't doing as well. So, but that's about all.